Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of the Stash Portland Stash Project. Today is February 22nd, 2021. And I have to say, this will be our last video for this month. That's right, because we have one of those weird things where, of course, February being a short month for whatever reason, somebody figured that out a long time ago. Why wasn't January the short month? Like, why wasn't March the short month? I'm just, throwing it out there. I know it's all astrological and stuff like that, but I'm just saying, like, you can make the calendar whatever you want it to be because we're on a completely different calendar than they were using back then. And yeah, I'm just saying, but like giving June 15 days and calling it even. Anyway, so we have the April spot runs from Aoshima, a couple of teasers from Nunu on some built production models for their upcoming products, and then we have this week's kit releases, which have a couple of things here in the United States and a couple of things overseas, of course. The reason why it is the last video of this month is because, of course, the 28th being the last day of this month, next Monday will actually be the beginning of March. So we're set up again, much like we were this year. We're back in January and February. Have now been 2 months where the first Monday is also more or less the first of the month. And yeah, so continuing that tradition of having to do 2 videos in one day. We'll soldier through somehow, and I know that you'll all appreciate it. So anyway, the spot runs at Aoshima for April. Again, like I say, these are just straight restocks. Got a reissue of the 91 Suzuki Cappuccino, reissue of the 1991 Nissan Terrano, which of course we had here as the Pathrunner, or the Pathfinder rather. Pathrunner. I got the Pathfinder and the Forerunner merged into one unique vehicle there, the Pathfinder. Wonder if that would be a Toyota front end and a Nissan back end. Actually, it has to be the other way, right? Because if you're going to make it a Path Runner, it would have to be a Nissan front end with a Toyota back end. There's a fun hack for somebody who has two of those kits and wants to merge them together. At any rate, reissue of the 1991 Nissan Terrano, which again, like I said, Pathfinder. Left-hand drive still in it. None of the Pathfinder decals or anything else like that. I'm surprised no one's ever made any Pathfinder or Forerunner decals. Like, nobody has ever, done that. The kits still have the left-hand drive in them. They still are, right there, ready to be turned back into U.S. spec vehicles. And for whatever reason, other than the original kits that were done in conjunction with American Satco, there's never really been a set of. And doesn't anybody have a set of American Satco decals they can send to somebody or scan and send to somebody to make those decals again? Yeah. Again, just thinking out loud. Reissue 2005 Toyota Alphard van. Reissue the Liberty Walk, Liberty Works Nissan Skyline in its police tribute. That's the older 70s Skyline with that has the over fenders and all the police stuff in it. Reissue the Liberty Walk, Liberty Works Nissan Skyline 4-door 2015. This again another 4-door Ken and Mary era Skyline that was done. It's a 2-tone car, and that's the 8th kit in that lineup if you happen to have the kits. Reissue Liberty Walk, Liberty Works R35 GTR version 1, and also reissue of the PE set. Now the PE set's universal for all of the R35 is what it's called, but they're not really designated that way. Everybody just sort of colloquially uses that term because it was the next GTR after the R34. But there are, the 5 or 6 of those that exist. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those that exist. And there's a common PE set that was released by Aoshima back when they released the version 2, Type 2, the one with the Advan decals in it. And that will actually, again, do any of those Liberty Walk kits. It has the PE wing supports for both the GT1 style spoiler and the GT3 style spoiler. It has the 2015-ish front end PE parts and the 2019 front end PE parts. So again, it'll do all of the cars out of one thing. One car per PE, obviously, but it'll do any of those kits. You don't have to have a particular one, like a lot of PE sets are, where it's very specific to that specific individual kit. All right, so we got a bunch of wheels coming back in April as well. On the 20-inch wheels, we have the Leonhardt Bugles, the SSR Warfin GTO3s, the fabulous various MBO5s. Those are a VIP van wheel. the Traffic Star DTX and the Garson DAD Zuglen wheels, which are another set of VIP van wheels. And then we have the 16-inch Muscle Magic ATC Daytona steel wheels coming back, and then in the 14-inch wheels, the Heart 5, the Shadow 5, the Star 5, and the Mark 1, which are all little wheels from those. Shoot, can't think of the it was right there, tip of the tongue, and it's gone. The More Grand Champion series. There we go. The Grand Champion and More Grand Champion series of kits that they reissued probably about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago now. So those wheels are coming back, and all of those, nothing new there. All those wheels have been reissued. Although I will say that several of those 20-inch wheels probably have been reissued for 6 months or so. So it's been a few. It's been a few on some of those. Over to these teaser shots from Nunu. There are 2 different vehicles we're going to take a look at here. First up will be a reissue of their Chevy Cruze kit. This is technically, I want to say it's the 3rd kit, I believe, total out of the, as you look at the lineup of the kits from BMAX when they originally opened, because they did the ST-165 Rally Celicas first. I think this is technically the 3rd kit out of the thing. I have a whole pile of them back there in the corner, obviously, that have the old Chevy corporate logos. In 2013, Chevy pulled out their support out of the WTCC teams, but several teams still ran the cars as independent teams at that point. And this is, I want to say it's Jan Muller, because there is a Jan Mueller, but who drives GT3 cars. But they're 2 separate people. One of them's French, one of them's German. Anyway, I want to say it's Jan, or it might be Van. That's Y-V-A-N, and it's French, so you figure that out on your own. Mr. Muller here won the 2013 WTCC Championship. This car, as the decals have it set up for, is for the race of Macau, which was a Macau Grand Prix support race in 2013. The car already has the 2013 championship decals on it in that race because he had clinched the driver championship 3 races prior, so it's just sort of a, celebration, if you will, vehicle. This would represent the 4th Drivers' Championship at WTCC. He had won there, which were the 4 little things there on the front fender that indicate the years that he won. And this decal set has actually been done in the past. I don't know that the set came with the championship stuff on it, although I believe it may have, but I'd have to go look at my decal set. But this decal set was done, I think, by Autocolor back in the day, which is BMAX Nunu's self-owned decal company. And it's been a while. These kits came out in 2013 or 2014, I want to say, and so it's been a hot minute since it was new and those decals came out. This car, as it stands, is a 2-tone that you have to paint, although they do give you all the gold stripes, and you do get the front hood Luke Oil red as well. So you just have to paint the back of the car on that sort of diagonal paint split, for lack of a better term, and then the decals will clean up your paint mask as long as you have the paint mask back far enough, I guess. So anyway, that kit's coming back out again. I don't know if anything's been done to it. The kit itself is identical. There's no new parts added to it. It's just a new set of decals. But there were some issues with those kits when they first came out, that the front bumpers were, when they were molded, were really sort of splayed out. It was, you had to basically tack one side of the bumper to the body and then let it dry, and then tack the other side of the bumper to the body and let it dry, or try to flex it a little bit under warm water. It wasn't a situation where you couldn't build the car by any stretch of the imagination, but you had to put a little bit of work into the front end of the car in order to get it to sit right. And those decals, I would imagine, will be substantially better than the original sets of decals were. I'm just hoping with all of those kits that I have, all 12 of them, I can find enough sets of decals out of that to build 3 of the actual cars that the box art offers, because they offer all 3 of the team cars, Chevrolet team cars, that were done in 2012, and they represent pretty much the first, second, and third place cars in the WTCC championship that year. Robert Huff being the champion in 2012. But those decals were awful. With some of the worst decals that have been in a kit, other than maybe some of the stuff that was some of the Bell kits models. And they did later go back and offer replacements. I never got any of those replacements because a lot of those I plan to do with other liveries. So I'm hoping that I can piece together out of those 12 kits 3 good sets of decals. We'll see. A lot of that probably could be done in paint these days rather than trying to get the decals wrapped. But at any rate, moving on, the other kit that was shown is a boat production test shot of this, the 86 Olympus Rally Audi Quattro S1. So this is, again, the slightly less aggressive version of the car. This kit being released also gives you the ability to go backwards a little bit in Group B and do the cars before the Evo 2 car that had all the crazy spoilers and canards and whatnot. So this car represents the 3rd place finishing car at the Olympus Rally. Box art is done for this car. Box art's done for the Cruze, and these could technically, I guess, be the next 2 kits that come out. There still is not box art for the M8 yet, because well, who wants that, right? I'm trying to think what the other kits that we know about that are officially on distribution lists are the M8, which is who knows when, the Mooncraft EF9 Civic, which would just be basically a new set of decals in the EF9 Civic kit that they did a few years ago, and then the Porsche 911 SCRS rally car, the Rally Oman car. Now, I've seen a teaser of them building a production shot of that as well. So far, the pictures of the built thing, the completely built car, have not shown up as of yet, but that one may be actually getting pretty close to production as well. So, we will see. All of those kits, the Cruze, the Civic, the Audi, the Porsche, and the BMW M8 are all supposed to come out in a period of about 10 days at the beginning of March. I'm going to say that's BS, and we'll see what that ends up looking like when it actually shows up. But yeah, I'm not really putting too much hope behind really any of them showing up in March or which ones would show up in March, but at least some of them are getting a little closer. So, just I don't know if it's hope or not, but at least it's coming, right? It's oh well. On to the kit releases this week, and we have, like I said, several here domestically, one basically out of every company. First up, from AMT, reissue of the 98 Chrysler Concorde Street Slammers, Snapflash Slammer Street Heat kit. So once again, this is molded in neon green. Must have got a deal on that when they bought the plastic pellets, because this is the second one of these is molded in that color. Again, just like the last one, this is about a 13-14 piece kit. It has absolutely no interior whatsoever. It has just a black glass, black plastic. It's not even glass. It's just black plastic. Windows, and then a very basic chassis pan just with space for the wheels to go through. And yeah, you're back with another one of those. Molded in 2 colors, basically being black and neon green. So there's that for anyone who happens to be interested in it. Over at Mobius, we got the release finally, and this is a kit that's been almost 2 years in the making at this point, because when we saw the pre-production shots of this trailer, it was NNL East 2 years ago. Remember, there was no NNL East last year because of the Rona. And we're closely coming around the corner to probably not having another NNL East this year. Let's be honest about that. But, I guess we'll see what happens in April. But this would have been, 2 years. So finally this has come out. It was supposed to come out like middle of last summer. Then it was supposed to come out this fall. Then it was supposed to come out later this summer. And then all of a sudden it showed up this week. So, hey, whatever. And then it's the 48-foot flatbed trailer. So, something that's definitely been a want for truck builders for a long time, and that being a modern flatbed trailer. This does come, we'll remind you again, with 2 actual decks for the trailer. One has an arch to it and one is flat. The flat one will be the loaded version. When you're building this, please think ahead. The flat one is loaded. Cambered version is unloaded. These aluminum trailers have a flex point to the middle of them, and when they are not loaded, they actually have a little bit of an arch to them as they go down the road, especially when they're brand new and they haven't been used. As time goes along, that arch is a little less as the thing just wears on itself. But it will become very obvious if you have a completely totally flat deck to anyone who knows. And you're like, oh, look at this trailer. Okay, where's your load? Well, it's not loaded. Yeah, well, then why is it flat? It should be arched just a hair. But yeah, there's components of this that are from the trailer, the the van trailers, like the wheels and the tires and parts of the suspension, but a good chunk of this is brand new because obviously none of this stuff really represents a van trailer in the sense of the frame. Obviously, the deck is new, but pieces are reused where pieces can be reused. Lights, mud flaps, all that sort of thing. The landing gear is probably the same and things of that nature. So, again, was a kit that was been requested for a long time and been waiting for a long time, and that is finally out there. Last kit domestically is this month's Salvino's release, and that is the Junior Johnson Racing Neil Bonnet-driven Budweiser Monte Carlo adult collectible. Do not collect this if you're not an adult. So this is the second reissue of the Aeroback Monte Carlo, and this, as it's shown in this picture, is a short track setup again because it's got the just beat out fenders and the front air dam, or the little front sheet metal air dam there thing to keep damage from the bottom of the radiator, and all the vents are open on the front with the headlights and the turn signals and everything like that, or where they would be in real life if it was a real car. So yeah, that's pretty much what you see is what you get there. It's an old monogram kit, just like most of these have been. Of course, we'll have brand new Salvino's kits here before too long as they introduce their 71 and 73 Dodge Chargers. But right now, you get another reissue of a venerable monogram kit. And I've always enjoyed the monogram NASCAR kits. And this one, I mean, the Aerobacks are just reissues of the kits with new decals in them. So nothing to see there. Theoretically, I'm sure they probably have the new tires that Salvino's had to tool up because there was no tire tools from those monogram NASCAR kits that got sent to them. So I'm guessing it has the new tires, but other than that, it should just be a straight reissue. So on to the overseas we go. Here we have a few kits from Hasegawa. We have a few kits from Aoshima. We have a couple of kits from Nunu, as well as one from Tamiya. So we'll start at the Tamiya one, and that is a reissue of the 1/20th scale Fiat 131 Abarth rally car, the Oleo Fiat team. And as we mentioned, Rege in the last video, Rege Models is doing a Portugal Rally version of this. And I don't know if this is technically a Portugal Rally car as it sits, or it's just what they decided to do with it. But their livery will include a bunch of missing tobacco markings, will include full rally placards with the actual rally names and things like that. So if you do want to get this, there will be, again, some decal support for it to sort of zhuzh it up to the way it should look. There's no tire markings in this. There's no tire sponsors in this, and so on and so forth. So the kit itself does include decal mask, 2 driver figures. Also includes some tubing or wiring, if you will, for the engine and things of that nature. So it's a full detail kit if you've never seen one. So that is back out there for you folks that are interested in larger scale rally kits. We're at Aoshima. We got 2 more kits. There's technically still, I think, one more March kit to come. So I can't say this is it, or March kit, February kit. But these ones are out. And this is the first up, the Toyota Celsior Auto Couture Style Eleganza. Yeah, it's just a VIP version of Toyota Celsior / Lexus LS430. No Lexus parts in this. This is only a Toyota. And these VIP vehicles have always been set up so that you can only build them as the VIP cars. There's no stock wheels in this, for example. And this is sort of the one Lexus that a lot of people would want back as a Lexus because they did these later LS430s. So there's the LS430 that you guys remember, the Tamiya kit. There's also an Aoshima kit, and you remember the Aoshima kit because that's the one that was released as an AMT Rebox way back in 1992 when it was like, hey, we're Toyota with PE out of AMT, and it's $5 more than every other kit they offer. Yeah, that's the original LS430. There is then this LS430, which is a mild refresh as far as what the front end and back end of the car look like. They did one version of this as a completely factory stock version, and then there's been a couple of reissues of the VIP cars, but that factory stock version of this and the factory stock version of the later LS430 also not been reissued recently. So I don't know if there's a licensing thing with that, or maybe they just don't think the Lexuses would sell. But for whatever reason, it would be, I have them, but for other people, it would probably be nice to have those come back. And then we have the other kit, and this one has This is kind of an interesting kit. All right, so this is the Nissan Fairlady Z, what they're calling the Aero Custom version 2. And what I thought when they showed this, that it was going to have new parts included in it. But what it appears to be is them taking the Aero Custom and the old Nichimu Matsuo, whatever it is, 1975 Fairlady Z race car, and squishing the two of them together. The only new parts of this kit are the wheels. The body itself is not the Aero Custom, and it is everything on the kit is on the kit, right? So the over fenders are already on the kit. The rear spoiler is already on the kit. The front spoiler, air dam, intakes, whatever the heck you want to call that front end design, that's all already molded to the kit. So this body has already existed in the past. And like I said, I believe this is the race car body from the kit they reissued a few months ago, crammed together with their street car custom with some bits and pieces from possibly other things thrown in here. It's a conglomeration of model kits rather than it being anything brand new, which is amusing in the sense that they were able to do that. It shows a little bit of forward thinking in terms of reusing existing tooling, but at the same time it continues to be another episode of, hey, look at Aoshima not actually make new stuff. But hey, for people who are into this sort of style to their JDM, this is obviously a real easy jumping off point for a custom Fairlady Z, and so probably hold some interest for people in that way. Over at Hasegawa, we got a couple of reissues. Well, technically all of these are reissues, but a couple of them have new pieces. Straight reissues include the Charge Mazda 767B. 767B in this format is not the car that won Le Mans. It is the car that won the GTP class, or actually technically it's the second place car in the GTP class the year before. The first place car was a 757, which is a kit that there's our car that has never had a model kit done of it. There's a very, very expensive Studio 27 Trans kit of one, but there's not an actual kit of it. And so this is just the Charge Clothing Company sponsored Mazda for several years, and this just happens to be one of those cars, and it's been done not to death, but several times, and so it's just a reissue. Also reissued this week was the Shell liveried Porsche 962C. This will give you the opportunity to build it either as a ADAC touring vehicle, which is what this livery on the box art is, or for the 1987 Nürburgring World Endurance Championship car. Both of those cars, ironically and amusingly, finished, I want to say it's second, right? Let's see here. Let's look. Yes. 1 second. So even though the two cars ran a year apart, one ran in 87, one ran in 88, they both finished second. So apparently the car, does pretty well, but not quite well enough. The 1987 Nürburgring, of course, at this point has had several recent releases of Porsche 962s and whatnot added to it, and you can start building a little bit of the field at this point. So that's just a straight reissue. That kit came out it's been out since the 1990s, but it was reissued about a year ago. And then you have this, which is a reissue of the Datsun 240Z, and this is with chin spoiler. So yes, another resin chin spoiler added. What's interesting about this is they've done a little bit of, again, kit assembly here. So this is shown with a left-hand drive orientation. The right-hand drive parts are in it. This sort of has the same yellow as the Mr. K's 240, but in addition to throwing the chin spoiler in here, they also threw the over fenders and the wheel sets from the 7432R, which is the rally spec homologation car, which we just talked about the other day, as it was something that was just reissued this month. And so that's a fun little throw a couple parts runners in. While we have the 432 running, let's run a couple extra sets of wheels and over fenders. So the over fenders are separate. I believe that those are the only wheels that are in this kit. I didn't look to see if there was a second set or not, but it has those wheels in it, which are a little bit different than the wheels that have been offered with this in the past. And as I said again, everything below the bumper is a piece of resin, so that is that. And then lastly, from Hasegawa, is the kit a lot of us have been waiting for quite a while, and that is the Minolta liveried 3rd gen Toyota Supra in its 1988 Intertech livery. So one of the biggest sort of hurdles to a third-gen Supra was the fact that Tamiya did one. And, of course, when Tamiya does something, everyone thinks it's the best thing ever. And under normal circumstances, that's correct. However, when you're looking back at something that Tamiya did, 10 years after I was born, yeah, it could be done again. It's okay. And so, obviously, we saw the limited 3.0 streetcar as the 1980, I think it's a 1989 technically in that boxing. But this is the JTC car from 1988, and it has the same livery as the Tamiya kit, but the Tamiya kit's a 1987, which is a slightly different body style. But having a full-on, real good kit of a Supra is something that I, again, have wanted for quite some time. Fujimi did a version of this, and then, it's a very basic kit. It's curbside. It's a mess, and having a good foundation of a third-gen Supra is something that I've wanted for years. Again, I'm not going to go into the stories of why this car is amusing to me, but be that as it may, one thing that did get done to this car that we talked about I think back in the February video of what a silliness it was to livery the car a specific way is they did include the team car decals in here. You guys may recall this car that's on the box art from all of my blathering about race cars finished, I don't know, 37th or something like that. Actually, I think it finished 19th because it broke down and didn't finish the race. But the other car podiumed. And it always was weird to me, like, why you included just the decals for the car that broke down. This is the last race that this car ran in the Minolta livery. The Minolta livery for Team Toms is a famous thing. The Group C cars ran this. The Corolla 11s ran this. The Supras ran this. It ran this livery at Macau. It ran this livery, all through JTCC for 2 years. The last race that it represents, you're going to give me the car that broke down? Really? But they did include, and it's all thrown on the bottom of the decal sheet, like it's an afterthought. But thankfully, somebody thought about it. The number 37 cars are in there. The other headliner is in there. The windshield liner is in there. The other driver names are in there. So you can, in fact, now I have a set of decals I don't need, but I'll find a use for them somewhere, I'm sure. But yes, you can build the number 37 car, which did finish second place in this race, in the 1988 Intertech race specifically. The only thing I could say that is a little bit different from the picture to where the model is. The picture of the thing, those front intakes that are underneath the thing looks like I said of dryer ducts hanging off underneath the car, which are in fact the brake coolers for the front brakes, are of course very rigid pieces of tubing in the kit. They stick out like a set of arrows. And those are clearly aluminum ducting at the end, and they're sort of droopy and hangy and cut off with what looks like to be a hacksaw. They're not like real flush and stuff like that. So a little work to batter those up a little bit, or maybe throw some bare metal foil on the, with just the very last wrap, just a little bit. You don't need it to stick out like a big nose or something like that, but just like have it come off like a millimeter past the edge of those things, just to give it a little bit of crinkly aluminum look to it, rather than being clearly an injected molded thing that is, well, like every injected molded thing, very sturdy and very straight and whatnot like that. So it's something to think about if you're building one of these things. But finally, that kit is out. I actually have shipped my pants. Remember those Kmart commercials? I shipped my pants. But I shipped my personal warehouse. So I'm looking forward to having this in-house here pretty repeatedly, so we're very much looking forward to that. So that kit is out, and that takes care of the Hasegawa stuff. So that leaves us with 2 kits from the folks over at Nunu, and they are, first up, the Toyota Corolla 118092 from the 1889 Spa 24 Hours. So back in the 1980s, the 24 Hours of Spa was a complete and total touring car race. It wasn't the GT3 festival that it is these days. And there was a 2-division thing. You had the top tier division, which was things like the M3, the Ford Sierra, RS500, other cars of that nature. Prior to the M3, it was the 635 BMW, 190 Mercedes, things of that nature. The touring cars that you would expect from the late 80s, and into the early 1990s. And there was a secondary division which had things like Civics and Levins and Volkswagen Rabbits and Golfs and things like that. So this car finished 3rd out of the Division 2, and it actually finished like 11th overall, which when you think about it, even though it was like 40 laps down from the winner, is pretty impressive. So to still have a car finished almost in the top 10 of the lower class divisions like that. So this kit has new set of decals. It carries over those placard lights from the M3 that came out last month. It's just they tooled up a separate runner with just those placard lights on it. Obviously new decals, and then it has those front grille lights for the 24 hours thing. They, much like this, I think they are covered. I don't know that there are lenses for them. I didn't look at the directions close enough to see if there's a way to display them sort of for a night racing look or not, but be that as it may, the kit's pretty much what the kit was in terms of the rest of it. And then there is a PE set for it, which pretty much looks just like the PE set for the 88 JTCC Minolta cars, where it has the front grille and a couple of things, the brake faces, and of course all the stuff in there to manufacture up your seatbelts with. And then the other car is this, the 1994 Toyota Corona SD191 JTCC car. Yeah, Corona, probably not the best name for this car anymore, but it is what it is. This represents two different cars. So this is Tom Christensen's 1994 Suzuka winning car. In 1994, when JTCC went to these Fiat Type or Group 2 Type 2 sedan regulations, the races went from being a endurance race to being 2 sprint races at every single stop. He won both races at Suzuka, so he is the Suzuka winner. There also includes a team car, the number 38 car, for the 1994 Intertech race, which that team car won. And so you can build either one. They both are pretty much the same as far as the graphics and things like that. There are little bits and pieces of it that are slightly different in terms of what the sponsors are. Obviously, the numbers are different. And the other team car was a Japanese driver. But that's a fun car to have back out. This kit has a new grille, new wheels, and new mirrors to do this version of the car. So that's kind of cool. Some new pieces. And then, of course, this also has its own sold separately PE set, which, based on the fact that I've been playing with this PE set for the other 94 JTCC Corona in the past, months, years. It's been a while since that kit got started and still isn't done yet. But regardless, this is pretty much mirrors exactly that. It's got all of your brake faces, a bunch of your grills. That little weirdly folded origami big box thing is a cover for the fuel tank. There's a footrest for the dead pedal, a seat bracket, and then a good majority of the rest of it is seatbelt wraps or seatbelt materials. It has replacements for the hood pins as well as the fuel ring. Yeah, it's pretty comprehensive. It's not a lot, but it does enhance a bunch of stuff. It's not a situation where the parts aren't in the kit, other than obviously the seatbelt material, but like I said, it just adds a little extra. And there's a turn metal air jack and a turn metal antenna base, along with a little piece of wire for the antenna. The Levin has a turn metal intake or air jack port, but no antenna. So that, guys, will wrap up this week as well as more or less this month. Looking at like I said, what's left over and what may come out this week, there are a few odds and ends, bits and pieces from Aoshima that have still not come out. The number one kit probably being the Hurricane Performante, because that's something that I know a lot of you guys were interested in seeing come back. And then we're still waiting on those 2 AMT, Italeri truck reboxes. Those kits are not in as of yet, but all the Hasegawa stuff is done now. All the Tamiya stuff is done now. So just a few little odds and ends left. So we'll see how many of those and what of those come in for you as we plunge headfirst into March of 2021. And of course, we will have our March compilation. We'll see if that comes out on the 1st or not, because right now, Round 2 only has 1 kit on the distribution list for March. And that doesn't even cover the stuff that was in the last Round 2 video. I roll my eyes at those because, again, they're great for informing people as to what kits are coming. However, they're not exactly these kits are coming this month video like some people seem to think that they are. And so there's a few kits that are in that video that have not come out, are not coming out, And as of right now, aren't on this coming month either. So that needs to be updated. We'll see if it updates this week, or we may have to wait a couple of days into March for them to get their act together. But be that as it may, we will, of course, cover those like we always do, and we'll see you guys on the other side.